This is the continuation of previous chapter. Do read them first to understand the story better. Kindly read as you hear for better experience.
I can't grasp why she treated Mom that way. She was never that way before. I always saw her as kind, quiet, and supportive. But what I witnessed today angered me. Fueled by my anger, I shifted her away from my family to my old house. However, as the weather turned stormy tonight, I could not help but be concerned for her. She's never lived alone before, and she might be scared. No matter how upset I am, I can't simply abandon her in that old mansion, I thought, as I stopped my car in front of the mansion gate. Why aren't there any guards at the gate? I wondered, looking around for my umbrella. I got out of the car and headed toward the main gate. No one was there, and the gate was open. This made me worried. Is everything okay? I thought, hurrying inside. As I approached the mansion's main door, I noticed YN sitting there, shivering and trembling. I panicked. What in the world happened? I thought, running towards her. YN, I said softly, giving her a gentle shake. She was trembling. I immediately took off my jacket and draped it around her. I then scooped her up into my arms and attempted to open the door, only to find it locked. Open the door! I yelled in frustration. Eventually, one of the maids opened it. I carried her upstairs, into the room. She was shivering intensely. I quickly helped her out of her wet clothes and dried her off, then wrapped her in a warm blanket. Despite that, she continued to shiver. Worried, I dialed our personal doctor. YN was caught in the rain and she's shivering really badly. Her body feels icy cold. Guide me on what to do? I said in one breath with panic in my voice. It sounds like she might be experiencing hypothermia. Prolonged exposure to cold temperatures can lead to hypothermia, and in severe cases, it could even be fatal. I recommend turning on the heaters and warming her up as quickly as possible, the doctor advised. I turned on the heaters immediately. Bring some hot oil, I instructed over the intercom. Soon after, 2 maids arrived with a bottle of hot oil. Massage her with this oil to help warm her up, I ordered. The maids started massaging her. I quietly left the room and walked downstairs. Why was YN out in the rain? I questioned the maid who opened the door for me. She remained silent. Speak up, I raised my voice, pressing for an answer. Did you lock the door from the inside? I inquired with frustration, evident in my tone. She continued to remain silent. Answer me! I yelled in anger, drawing out the revolver from my pocket. Boss, she sobbed, breaking down. Mrs. John instructed us to make Miss YN suffer until she couldn't take it anymore, she confessed fearfully. Mom, why would Mom say that? I questioned, confused. She did not say anything but continued to cry in fear. I couldn't wrap my head around this. My mom? Impossible. Do not lie to me, I retorted, unwilling to accept her words. Boss, I am not lying. After you left Miss YN here, Miss John phoned and told us not to assist Miss YN in any way. She even directed us to make things difficult for her, to the point where her life turns into a living nightmare, the maid explained through sobs. Suddenly I remembered YN mentioning how Mom and Songjin mistreated her. That time I paid no attention to her words, but now I can't just ignore it. My confusion grew and I headed to the office. Hey Lee, ask Jackson and Dean to come to my old mansion right away, I instructed over the phone. At this time it's midnight? He questioned. Yes, right now, I shouted in frustration. All right, calm down, I'll send them, Lee said. A little while later, a knock echoed through my office. Dean and Jackson had arrived. Boss, you called? Dean asked. Were you both keeping watch over the house consistently while I was gone? I questioned. Yes, boss. We ensured the security of your house diligently during your absence, Jackson replied confidently. Then tell me about everything that occurred at home while I was away, I asked eagerly. Everything was in proper order. There were no signs of enemy attacks during your absence, Dean began explaining, but I cut him off. I'm not concerned about enemy attacks. Did something happen between Mom, Songjin, and YN? I asked. Their expressions shifted, and they fell silent. Was there any discord between Mom, Songjin, and YN? I pressed for an answer. They appeared confused and hesitant. Share all the details with honesty. I need to know everything, I instructed with urgency. Boss, Jackson began hesitantly. After a month or so of your absence, issues between Miss John and Miss YN began to arise. Miss John prevented Miss YN from leaving the house. Miss YN did not like it, but eventually refrained from going out. Then Miss John directed Miss YN to stop talking with her friends for security reasons. This led Miss YN to become lonely and isolated in the house. After that, Miss John instructed the maids to avoid assisting Miss YN. As a result, Miss YN started handling all her tasks independently, from cooking to cleaning her own room. Everything was messed up, but the situation was manageable until the day before yesterday's evening. He stopped and looked at me with hesitation. Day before yesterday's evening? What happened the day before yesterday? I asked impatiently. They maintained their silence. Come on, spill it out, I shouted in anger. Miss Songjin had her friends over that evening, and Miss YN accused one of her friends of inappropriate behavior and even slapped him. This sparked an argument between Miss John, Songjin, and Miss YN. In a fit of anger, Miss John made derogatory comments about Miss YN's deceased father's character and upbringing. This sent Miss YN into a rage, and for the first time ever, Miss YN confronted them. Miss Songjin got infuriated seeing YN fighting back, so she began pushing Miss YN out of the house. Seeing Miss YN being kicked, Guro the dog jumped in between. He started barking in an attempt to stop Miss Songjin from hurting Miss YN. Miss John got frustrated seeing the dog barking, and she struck a heavy vase on his head, rendering it unconscious. Miss YN then rushed the dog to the hospital in panic. The next day, Miss YN returned home, furious and angry, and she grabbed Miss John by the neck. And that's when you arrived. This entire incident was recorded in the CCTV footage. I can get you for confirmation, Dean said in one breath. Upon hearing this, I was left in a state of shock. I did talk to YN on the phone sometimes, but she never disclosed this mistreatment. I felt a wave of shame as a husband, realizing that I had failed to shield my wife. I was so consumed by revenge and work that I had overlooked her needs. Leaving her alone for such a long time was a bad decision. She had to suffer a lot, and she endured silently for my sake. Boss, Miss YN has regained consciousness, but she's still shivering, one of the maids said, interrupting my thoughts.
This is the end of the chapter. Stay tuned for next chapters. Thank you for watching. Turn on your notifications for next update. Hope you have a good day ahead. Take care. See ya.